So, Mr. Owen Lee, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, Carl. How are you?
I'm doing good. I want to do something different here. I know we had this thing that we were going to talk about the market and
Hmm.
reduction in volatility and things like. And I started thinking, this is really a golden opportunity that for both of us, frankly,
Hmm.
you're very successful in what you do, right? You
Thank you.
own a mortgage company, right? Very successful,
Hmm.
not a small one, right? So it's
Right.
places well in the market.
Hmm.
I've done a couple things. I'm a branch manager, frankly, at your company, right? And we've
Oh,
done real well together.
very well.
Yep.
Yep.
And then I own a training company for loan officers and done well for
Hmm.
that. And we've each done other things like you own a title company, still do, but you own a title
Yep.
company again that does real well. And I've done some other things, that's done well. And I thought what would do
Well, and
is like,
you're being a little modest. You probably have the largest reach, the biggest megaphone to loan officers in the country. Um, the amount of traffic.
probably, yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing Owen and I are going to do, we're going to risk taking off our humble hat because we're both very in our own way. We're both, we're proud of what we've done and what we've accomplished and the amount of people we've helped. But we're we both come from, and me probably a little bit more than you, come from very meager upbringing or background, and you weren't raised with a silver spoon either, but it was probably a
I
little
was
bit more
not.
polished than mine. But
Well, my mom was a public school teacher, and my dad was a Century 21 broker in Detroit, which in the 70s and 80s meant it was either feast or famine, and, and
yeah,
not a lot of in between.
well,
So,
I could see that. Yeah. So anyway, so
yeah.
we're gonna risk just taking our humble hats off here a little bit and just have a very candid, non-scripted. And 3 minutes ago, you didn't even know the topic. I was thinking about this morning,
That's
and I
right.
thought let's just have a discussion about some of the things we've learned in business. Like if we could go back and I always like this approach. If I could go back and talk to Carl, or if Owen saw a young Carl, or even hell, a Carl
Hmm.
today, like what's some pointers that you would like that you wish you would have known, or that you have children, and obviously they've done very
Yep.
well, and like when they say, "Hey, Dad, give me some advice here," like what's some pieces of advice you would give? So that's kind of what we're going to do here today. So, you game?
All right. I'm ready.
All right.
Let's give it a
So,
shot.
so what would you say? Like if you say, "Hey, boy, if I could nail up how to be successful in like one sentence, like what's one thing that's really moved the needle for you?"
I think the biggest thing, if I had to, I mean, there are two, but I think the biggest thing is how you treat people.
Mm.
If you want to be successful. I had a weird circumstance growing up, a good circumstance. My mom was a Dale Carnegie instructor. I don't think too many people,
Did not
had
know
that
that.
experience when they were growing up. I read How to Win Friends and Influence People which is Dale Carnegie's signature book at a very young age. And my dad used to have the saying in the house that the person who can get along with the widest array of personalities is the
Mm.
person that goes home with the biggest paycheck. And so, I'm a big fan of work ethic, but if I had to pick one thing, it would be how well you get along with other people and how you treat people. And that is, I could have countless examples of that throughout my career that has just really, really been um, an amazingly effective tool for me.
How about when somebody does you wrong? Like when somebody, sticks a stick in your spokes and they do you wrong, because
Yep.
I'm sure everybody has had that
Oh, it
happen.
happens. Yeah.
How do you call and give me a piece of your mind, or do you? Not that I would do that, so I don't even use that example. But Do you call that person up and give them a piece
Sure.
of your mind? You go screw them and take them out of your circle? Like, how do you handle that?
So, kind of an axiom that we have around our office, and I know, Carl, you've heard it before, is you want to work with people that you know, that you like, and that you trust. And you can't really have two out of three. You have to have all three. You got to know them, you got to like them, you got to trust them. Those are our best relationships. So obviously, when somebody does you wrong, um, you don't trust them anymore. So I would do what I could to get that person out of my business life. And I don't think I would make a big show of it. I've kind of come to the conclusion that 90% of the people, not in a mean way, but we're all human beings, 90% of the people think about themselves 90% of the time.
Mhm.
And so all up and lambaste somebody, or to give them a piece of your mind, as they're going out the door or something like that, very rarely is that beneficial, right? It might make you feel good emotionally for 2 or 3 minutes, depending on the time or the person or the circumstance. It may actually make your life more difficult 2 weeks
Mhm.
down the road, 3 weeks down the road. We work in a big industry, but sometimes it's amazingly small.
Yeah.
And, I just feel that it's usually best to swallow that immediate impulse, or at the very least, employ the 24-hour rule. When you really want to call and tell somebody off, just sleep on it, and see if your anger level goes down. Because usually you make a better decision when you're not in the heat of the moment.
Boy, that's a great lesson. I had a guy, Greg Hill, who was the
Mm-hmm.
first person that took a chance to hire me as a branch manager. This is like 20 some years ago. And he taught me that rule to always wait 24 hours. And
Yeah.
prior to that, I cannot tell you how many times I'd call to give somebody a piece of my mind and come to find out I didn't have all the information, and
Yep.
they were dead right to do what they did, and I was dead wrong to do what I did. And it wasn't until like 10 minutes into this conversation where I'm foaming at the mouth where they'd say, well, wait a minute. No. They called me. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
did not know that, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I've learned that. So I think for,
Well, your first impulse. I think we're all human beings, right? So often, your first impulse is an emotional one, and business is a different thing, and so a lot of times you got to be a little bit more calculating than that. So to take time for the emotions to subside, because we're all human beings, right? To a certain extent, you can't help the way you feel. It's the way you
yeah,
feel, and it's very real to you, especially in that moment. But kind of pause to take a breath, and see if there's a better way to handle it. And 24 hours later, in the light of a new day, usually things look a little bit different.
mhm,
So
yeah, I like that.
yeah, yeah.
So I think like one of the things that I've learned that I think
Mhm.
was very pivotal for me sounds like a simple thing, but it was a needle. It wasn't a needle mover. It was a needle bender
Mhm.
for me, and it was why not me? Why
Mhm.
not me? Like I see growing up poor, we always looked at people that did well as like not disdain or anything. Like I'd still look at in admiration, but it was like, well, yeah, but they're going to be successful, right? But I'm
Mhm.
a farmer, or in my case, I work at a chicken farm washing eggs. So that's not
Mhm.
my destiny. And then I had a couple chance encounters where I met people that were doing well, and I found out gosh, they're not that special, you know.
Yeah.
And some of them are, you know, I've met who's somebody I've met. I've met Kevin O'Leary, right, from Shark Tank.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I met him at a mastermind meeting that I go on to, and dude, that's one smart guy. Like, and you can really tell
Mm-hmm.
it, right? And I've seen never met him, but I've seen Anthony Robbins. You know, and you go, all right, well that guy,
Mm-hmm.
whatever he's doing, you know, he's special, and he is, right? He's special.
Yep.
But the other 99%, they're just normal people, and they're
Yep.
nobody special. It's their actions that are special, not themselves. So the activities they take, the actions that they take are special. And if it can happen to normal people, why not me? And
Well, I always think there's two ingredients to success. I don't often talk about this, but I'm a lawyer by trade, and I used to work at a gigantic law firm, and then I was in the title insurance industry, and then in the mortgage business. So I've been, and one of the reasons why I appreciate the mortgage business so much is I've been in other industries before, so I know that this one and our opportunity in it is special. But when you think about that, most of the successful people that I know have two things in common. Like I said, number one, how they treat people, right? Number two is work ethic and, really bringing it every single day. How many of us bring it every single day? And how many of us might bring it for 3 hours a day or 4 hours a day, but not 8 hours a day? Or 9 hours a day or whatever. And so everybody probably listening to this podcast has the ability to do those two things. How do you treat people and how hard do you work? And if you look at, top loan officers in our company or, the top branches in your company, I mean, Carl, I don't think you spend Tuesday afternoon getting your fantasy football team set for the next Sunday. Oh, I know I don't. And when I'm at work, man, those are I joke with people in my office. Those are my non-Red Cross hours, right? At that point in
yes.
time, I'm focused on making a profit. But everybody listening has the ability to do those two things. So when you get back to what you said about, why not me? Why not you? Why not the hundreds or thousands of people that are listening to this right now? Because every single one of you has the opportunity to do those two things, right? Treat people well and work hard. And I think that's after being in business close to 30 years across different industries, those are the two common denominators that I would see. Even in the practice of law, the people that would make it to the top, the excellent lawyers, right? They would put on their lawyer face because by definition, it was oftentimes an adversarial process. But how they treated the people the people they worked with, their assistants, their team, the people in the firm, the clients, when they were in that non-adversarial position, people who were successful, it was the same across industries as a predictor of success.
So I know that a big part of becoming successful, I guess with anything really, is overcoming fear. So a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people think, it's that old cliche, courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is the pushing through fear, right? Feeling the fear and doing it anyway.
Yeah.
So in times where you were fearful, afraid,
Mm-hmm.
scared, like I know that happens.
Absolutely.
How do you overcome that? How do you push through the fear? And like somebody says, "Hey, I want you to go do this," and you give that big gulp and you go, "Okay, I can do that." How do you do that?
So, again, this answer is a little bit off track, but I've had some times that have been very fearful in my life. And I'm talking about the economic times, right? I'm in Detroit, for the people that don't know me. So, '06, '07, '08, when we had the Great Recession, I mean, our mortgage company was in Michigan and Florida, arguably the two worst states that you could be in the entire country. Um, during a lot of people think of the pandemic times in the mortgage industry as, oh, everybody made a whole lot of money. And that's true, right? We had life-changing opportunities when interest rates were at 3.5, 3.25, 3 or whatever. But the first 60 days of the pandemic as a mortgage company owner were extremely fearful, with what was happening in the market and servicing values going negative and all those kinds of things. So what I do to boost my self-confidence, this is the God's honest truth. I don't know if you ever heard this book called Think and Grow Rich by
Oh,
Napoleon
sure,
Hill.
sure.
I read the first 5 chapters of Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, and I read a chapter every morning. And then one of the things, is you write affirmations, in there. So I'll come up with an affirmation as it relates to whatever that current problem facing me is. And sometimes even if you don't know how you overcome it, part of the affirmation is I will overcome it. And so I reread those first 5, 6 chapters of Think and Grow Rich, and I actually do the things that it tells you to do. I wake up a little earlier, I drink a little bit more coffee, and I start my day by doing that, and do that over and over. At the start of the pandemic, I did it for 5, 6 weeks straight, everything, including Saturdays. I took Sunday off. But man, it really helped me. And then when we came out the other side, oh boy, it was great. But that's how I boost my self-confidence, during times of fear, is just that, hey, you can do it. Anybody can do it. That's my playbook. And so I would, take a look at those first 5 chapters, and I think they're great.
That's good stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. That probably the thing I've listened. Actually, I don't read anymore. I listen. I
Yeah.
if I open up a book and read 5 pages, I'm snoozing. But if I listen, I'm on the edge of my seat for some reason. But that and
Mhm.
how to win friends and influence people. And I know those 2 books, like everybody's heard of them, and they're like, yeah, but give me something new. Well, I think with those 2 books,
Yeah, I know they're not new and sexy, right? They're like
yeah,
80 or 100 years old, and you gotta get in a little bit to a different mindset because the world was a different place when those 2 books were written. But the human being lessons in those books stand the test of time, no doubt.
rocks rock solid.
Hey there. Hey, if you're loving the tips so far, be sure to hit that subscribe button right down there and then tap the little bell so that you never miss out on more free, cool tips coming your way. Also, I would love to hear from you. Drop a comment beneath there. Let me know what you think or tell me what you'd like to hear next.
How about
Yeah.
so without mentioning a name or anything? So let's say as
Hmm.
a loan officer, because you started in your before the owner,
Yep.
you're loan officer. Same with me, of course. Um,
Yep.
who, and when I say who, I don't mean a name, but who was the most beneficial for you? Who helped you grow your business? What position helped you grow your the loan officer or branch manager business? Who, when they got on your team, like, boy, this really made the difference for me.
Oh boy. Who, when they got on my team? So I think it's a
And
couple
and,
of
and, and
different.
I'm looking for position rather than a name. You know,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Okay. Um, you know, I could name a couple of folks, but it's really somebody who allows you to force multiply your own time and your own strength, right? We all do things every single day that only we can do, and we all do things every single day that other people could also do, right? Quite frankly, other people who are probably compensated a little bit less because that employment skill is not as rare, right? And so when you get somebody who allows you to spend, 40 or 50% of your time maximizing your results instead of 20% of your time, or 60% of your time instead of 30% of your time, those are really the most valuable people, right? In a loan officer's world, that's probably some type of loan officer assistance, or somebody to chase conditions, somebody to help you get from approved with conditions to the closing table, or something like that. But it's that person that allows you to use your special skill a larger percentage of the time. And I have a business coach that I work with who calls that MOLO. Real simple. More of, less of. What do you want to do more of? What do you want to do less of? Obviously, the things that make you the most money are the things that you want to do more of. The things that are more rudimentary and are not as special as of a skill set, those are the ones you want to do less of. So if you just think about that concept, who can help you force multiply your most special skill? Mm-hmm. And I think those types of people help you take the most immediate and quick jump, right? But the key is, what do you do with that extra time, right? It's back to that work ethic thought process, right? So if you use that extra time to actually do the things that are going to pay you more money, it's a wonderful, wonderful, life-changing thing. If you use that time to, cruise Facebook or, work on your fantasy football team or something, then it'll have really no effect whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say the same for me. Mine, and I'll tell you my who. Mine was Diane.
Uh-huh.
So, so Diane had this really unique thing about her. So Diane, so number one, she did exactly what you just said. She took all those things off of my plate and said, like, she'd tell me, "Hey, Carl, nobody here needs a loan. Go hit the streets." Right? Nobody here in the office needs a loan. Go hit the streets, right? And now she'd say it nice and respectfully, as I would, talk to her. But yeah, having somebody else chase the conditions, and has the ability to talk to people nice, which is one of the other things we talk about here in this episode. Asking for those things nicely from people was a thing. But she also had another trait to her that still to this day I heavily rely on, is, other than my wife Maria, Diane is my biggest cheerleader. And so she literally almost a daily basis, hey, you're doing great. I believe in you. Like a ring. I was going to say a ring man, but a ring person. Has a boxer. The boxer. You got the ring guy, the guy, the corner man. You got the corner guy. That's icing you off and giving you a drink of water, and
telling you how great you are.
Yeah. And and maybe it's my own insecurities that makes that so powerful. But boy, that has really moved the needle for me, because then when I walk in the office and I see her smiling face looking at me, I'm thinking, this lady is all in and she's counting on me. And so I got to, even if I don't feel like doing it today, even if my check is big enough this month, I still got to up my game, because these other, and I know you have that same thing, these other people are counting on our production. This is not just about us and our family. So for me, having an assistant isn't just that they can give us help, but it gives me responsibility to somebody, that even if I'm walking with a little bit of a limp today, that I'm going to get out there and play the game, because, and I'm using air quote, the fans are counting on us. When you see Patrick Mahone out there playing hurt, he's not doing it for him. He's doing it for the team, right? Because he's got a contract. He's got the money. He's got the wealth. He's not doing it for him. He's doing it for the team. So for me, it's like answering to somebody and having somebody very supportive that frankly sees me as being bigger than what I see me. Or
Well,
I
I
don't
tell
know.
you, when I was first, started the mortgage company and I was writing loans myself, we also had the title insurance agency, and I was running part of the title insurance agency. My wife was running another part of it. And I was working with a business coach at the time, and I had this assistant help me with this a little bit, and this assistant help me with this a little bit. And I said to the coach one time, I think I've got my schedule arranged where I can go out and prospect 2 days a week. And I was really excited about that. And he wasn't very impressed, this guy Daryl that I was working with. And he said, look, I don't want to rain on your parade. 2 days a week is better than what you had 6 months ago. He's like, but just remember, when you're prospecting 2 days a week, others are prospecting 5 days a week.
Mm.
Oh, crap.
Yeah. Thanks
I
a
knew
lot.
he was right.
Mm-hmm,
Because I knew he was right. And I hired this lady named Nicole and to run my mortgage pipeline. And it was I was up to 4.5 days. I still had some title responsibilities. 5 days wasn't realistic for me. But when I maxed that to 4.5 days, the effect on my pipeline was more than double. Because prospecting has that effect, right? If you double the amount of prospecting time, it's not going to double your pipeline. It might grow your pipeline fourfold or fivefold or something like that. Because
it's exponential.
Because each new referral source sends in multiple, right, prospects, ideally, not one. So it was the effect on the financial result was well worth the investment. But again, what did I do with that time, right? I had 2 kids and a third on the way. I didn't go swing a golf club, right? I went out and pounded the pavement. So I think that's the other key. I've come across a lot of loan officers in my life, and Carl, quite frankly, you and I meet probably dozens of them a year. I need an assistant. I need this. I need that. Okay. Well, all that is ground in solid business theory, right? But how do you practice it? What do you do with that time, right? If you do with that time what your special skill set is, it'll work like hell. But my experience is that at least 50% of the people get that time back and they don't pound the pavement. Because some days, just like you said, with the person being your biggest cheerleader, some days pounding the pavement is hard, and some days it doesn't go so well. Some days you pound the pavement all day, and you just come back with your suit pants, with the knees worn out. You don't have anything to show for it. Now, 3 days later, you might have 3 new referral sources and 4 new prospects, but you got to push through the bad days. So it's not just getting that assistance. That's a small part of it. The largest part of it is, how do you use that extra time?
Good stuff. Hey, man, we're coming top of the hour, and frankly, you and I have a meeting here in about 9 minutes with part of our growth team.
Yep.
Give me one word that summarizes success to you.
Well, there are many words that come to mind, but I'm going to go with grit.
It's a big word. It's a small word, but it's a huge word. I like that. I like that. Mine is definitely related to that. Mine is consistency.
Yep.
But it takes grit to be consistent, and
that's right.
And if you're consistent, so you got grit. So I like that.
Listen, being consistent is easy in theory and hard in practice.
Hey, one more question.
Yes, sir.
This is one of my favorite questions, by the way. So the president of the United States gives Owen a call, whoever he or she may be, right? So this is not Trump, Biden, like whoever.
Yep.
So whoever that person might be, the president of the United States calls Owen and says, Owen, I need your help. What skill set do you have that it's likely that he or she is tapping into? Like, why is the president calling Owen, whoever he or she may be? What skill set do you have that, yeah, I could help the president do this?
Well, boy, that's a good question. I think if I had one, and this goes back to what we talked about a little bit before, and again, not a political statement in terms
No,
of
I get
left and right or
Yeah.
Republican or Democrat or whatever. I have the ability, especially at certain times, to help bring people together and get them to work together towards a common goal.
Mm.
And I think when I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I could never be an engineer, or I have no technical ability whatsoever. I used to tease my wife that it was a major victory for me if I could get the VCR hooked up to the television. But one of the gifts that God has blessed me with is, or with which God has blessed me, because my wife is a grammarian, is that I have the ability to go along with people, and hopefully the ability to occasionally help people get along with each other, and I think that's important when you're running a team.
Mm. Good stuff, man.
That's a great question, though.
Isn't that a
I've
good
never
question?
heard that question. As long as you and I have known one another, I've never heard that question.
And that's my question, by the way. I didn't. That's one of the
Yes.
few things that I didn't
Yeah.
hear from somebody else. That yeah, I think mine. I think I have two talents that have served me really well, and they're kind of related. One, I can see. I guess it's really the same thing. I can smell talent a mile away. Like
Mm-hmm.
I can walk into the room and just almost instantly identify high, low, medium, low, low, high, medium, low. High. Has nothing to do with what they look like. It's like a sixth sense. I don't know. It's a weird thing. I can't describe it. But
Great.
I'm able to identify talent, and I think I have a unique ability of helping people see what their talents are, because it's hard for us to identify our own talents. It's much easier when somebody
Mm-hmm.
helps us. Like we go, oh, everybody's good at that. No.
Yeah.
We find our talents come easy, right? And it's like, well,
Mm-hmm.
it's no big deal. This is easy. Well, no. It's easy for you, but for most people, it's not. So I think I have the ability to help people identify what their talents are, and then to maximize the results of having that talent. And basically
Mm-hmm.
getting people to believe in themselves, but it's not a made up you can do it kind of thing. Like it's a real, oh no, dude, you
Yep.
don't know this, but you're really good at this thing. And helping guide people in the direction
A
using that.
lot of, and I would imagine a lot of times getting that person to believe that they can do it is at least half the battle, right?
Oh,
Because we all,
it's 98% of the battle.
yeah,
It's 90. Yeah, it's everything. Because as soon as you believe it, what's that? Whatever you believe, you'll achieve,
yep,
right? We all know that.
that's
And
right.
boy,
Back
is
to
that
Think and Grow
down. So
Rich.
yeah, think and go rich. So, oh, and I love you, man.
Yep.
You're just an outstanding person. You're a very dear friend of mine. I love your
Mm-hmm.
wisdom. I'm a bit older than you, and it amazes me. You're not just smart, but the wisdom you have at your age. And I know you're not 20, and I know that, but
Yeah.
I got a decade or so on top of you, and the wisdom that you have reminds me of just the wisest, you know, people in my life that I
Wow.
know. So I
You're
really
very
appreciate you,
kind.
brother. Yeah. All right, I think that's it. So, hey, if somebody wants to hear more about what you're doing or connect up with you, what's a good way to do that?
Best thing to do is to hit me up on LinkedIn or just email my assistant, Kendra Robb at krobb, R-O-B-B, at smprate.com.
Perfect. And then either that, or and we'll put that in the show notes, or
Yep.
with Kendra. I'm sorry, or on LinkedIn. Connect up on LinkedIn. I know
Yep.
you do some videos and some market updates on LinkedIn, which I'm a
I
huge
do.
fan of. So,
Some market updates, some mortgage, heavily involved in the Mortgage Bankers Association, some updates with that, and I'm pretty active on there.
yeah, good stuff. All right, man. I appreciate you, Owen.
Thanks, Carl.
Hey, and for our listeners, thanks so much for listening in. Hey, if you like this kind of format, so sometimes we talk about mortgages, and frankly, sometimes we just talk about life. Give some feedback on it. Let us know, and best way to do that is on whatever platform you're watching this. Go place a review, and would love to hear your feedback on it. Just some good, honest feedback. Of course, we like those 5-star reviews, but in the comments, anything you think we could up our game and make this even more beneficial to you. The only way we know how to do that is for you to tell us, like, here's what I'm looking for. So appreciate the reviews. Appreciate you forwarding this to your friends to listen to in the mortgage business. And we'll see you on the next episode of Loan Officer Freedom. Thanks again, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.